Well, in one Austin neighborhood, streets are named after Olympic gold medalists, and one street is Bruce Jenner Lane. Now there's some debate over changing the sign to Caitlyn Jenner Lane. One resident thinks it would be too much work.
I don't think it's a good idea because we're going to have to change the names of our driver's licenses, our insurance, Social Security, you name it. You know, at work, we're going to have to change the name.
The neighborhood board says they aren't planning on changing the street's name, but they aren't opposed to it either. Jenner, an Olympic gold medalist in the decathlon, recently came out as a transgender woman. And again, we're joined by Juan, Joe, and Frank, who's part of the LGBT, or the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. And we were talking about Caitlyn Jenner. And I know some of you know people who have had to go to Mexico, because we've seen Caitlyn Jenner make this transformation. I mean, Bruce Jenner had a lot of money to become Caitlyn. Yeah, what about the people who don't have this money?
Sometimes a lot of transgender people take their lives into their own hands and assume these risks by going to Mexico to afford hormones or treatment in order to transition fully, because they can't afford and they don't have the resources available to them like Caitlyn Jenner does. So it's harder for some people, especially down here in the valley. Some people can do it, others can't do it the right way. So it's difficult because sometimes it can be very risky, especially with all the violence in Mexico. Just so you can be yourself, you have to expose yourself to that much more danger. So it's difficult for some people, but other people have it easier, like Caitlyn Jenner. So
yeah, I think Caitlyn kind of painted a Cinderella story, but you know people who have taken the risk, and I guess it's worth it to them.
It's worth it to them because it makes them be more who they want to be, more who they really are, and then that kind of happiness sometimes doesn't have a price, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to finally become the person they were born.
Well, guys, I imagine being a young person in the community, there is a lack of resources for people available to just talk to them about the process of coming out to their family and to their friends, and just talk a little bit about the resources that we do have in the valley.
There's not enough resources when it comes to support. There are a few organizations like the South Texas Equality Project that just started recently. There's organizations on campus like LGBT at Edinburgh, the organization that I started at UTB. There's also LGBTQ at TSC. So slowly but surely there are organizations starting to rise up for support. But when it comes to massive organizations like counseling, or whenever a person gets kicked out of their house, like they don't have anywhere to go. So mostly they all go to just a friend's house just for a few days, and then the next week they go to another friend's house. And it's quite sad seeing that, especially when you have friends who get kicked out and have nowhere to go.
You think there's more of a need to have counselors? Would you guys have went to a counselor if that was there for you?
Actually, we do have counselors in school, and sadly they don't do counseling, they do scheduling. So I mean, they are there, but they're not doing what they are supposed to.
Or sometimes they're not trained in dealing with people coming out or with LGBT issues. So
really, you want people who are more trained in this specific situation. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I mean, there are people who are trained, but like I said, there aren't enough, and sometimes there are people who don't find a way to connect to those resources. So.
And real quickly, guys, just tell us a little bit about the process of coming out to your family. Was that easy or hard for you?
I guess I can go a little personal on this one. I was, I'm gonna confess it, like out there, I was outed by a friend. That was pretty extreme, but in regards to my family, you know what? Like the first person I ever came out to was my brother. Extreme jock. You would never expect it. Like they've met my brother, like 6'4", like football player, all around like a lovable guy on campus, and he was like very supportive, and nobody has ever told him anything about me. Never, but it's been a great support, and I'm just gonna put it out there for some other family members that if they're having an issue with their children or a family member being LGBTQ, to go ahead and be there for them. You may not probably be up for the way they live, but be respectful of it. Because if you have people already against them, why are you going to be that other person opposing against them? Be with them. Be a little soldier for them.
And at least be open to listening to them and taking that time, because it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of personal strength to actually be willing to come out to your family or your friends or anybody in general, because there is a lot of stigma, there is a lot of discrimination against people in our community. So it takes a lot of courage. So at least, like Frank said, just sort of be that person there, willing to support them, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't think it's the right thing. At least just be willing to listen to the person, because at least they're doing the right thing by talking to you.
Well, this is definitely a conversation that can go on forever, but thank you guys so much for just kind of putting your input in this whole thing that's unfolded with Caitlyn Jenner. So thanks for waking up with us this morning.
Yeah, guys, we want to thank you so much for being here this morning. And we did contact several counselors, therapists, and a psychotherapist to be with us, but they all declined to be on the show due to prior commitments or because they did not want to talk on camera. However, we want to encourage people to continue this conversation amongst ourselves. This is not someone else's problem. It's a social and political movement. And more than ever, people are raising questions about this and want to know more. And your time now is 6:53. We'll be right back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.